So I remember my dad telling me that back in the day when he used to get a cold or he used to get sick, that his mom and dad used to throw his sister in bed with him so she would catch the cold so they would have it together and get it over with.
Instead of having it in like phases.
Yes.
So the families, instead of being sick for like
Yes.
months, they're sick for like 2 weeks.
I think it was an old school thing to do back in the day.
I've heard of that for like chicken pox. Like Blair always tells me this story about how he heard his friend was sick and then his mom sent him over there to play video games with him. And he showed up and his friend's just covered in little spots. And that's how he got chicken pox, is his mom sent him over there.
Some of them wanted to, maybe it was chicken pox he was actually talking about. Like my dad got it and they're like, Barbara, get in here.
Yeah.
And hang out.
Come get some
Hang out with your brother. So they both
Rub
had it
your
at the
body
same
on your
time.
brother.
Right?
That's a Kentucky thing.
So that was kind of fun, but we got an email this morning that essentially is the same thing, except it has to do with COVID, and it doesn't have to do with kids, all right? And tell me if there is anybody listening that has done this kind of craziness. 1-855-BERT Show. Bert Show, am I being crazy here? My sister has COVID. She's in her early 40s and in good health. She had a rough go of it the past 24 hours, and anybody who has had this thing says it only gets worse over the next few days. Anyway, there's no emergency with her at this point. Here's the weird part. She has a friend that's also in her 40s that is in perfectly good health. She asked my sister if she can come and hang out with her with the intent to get COVID. She wants to, quote unquote, get it over with and feels her body can fight this thing better than a vaccine and wants to build up antibodies. Little history. They're both anti-vaxxers. They are not a fan of masks, think the pandemic is being blown out of proportion. My sister has agreed to have her come on over. Am I being crazy here that this seems really irresponsible on capital letters? Both of their parts. Thanks for the reality check from Jen.
I would love to get a doctor on. I mean, I know I have my opinion on this, but I don't have any letters after my name. This sounds idiotic to me.
It seems irresponsible to me.
It seems insane.
Like,
I wouldn't even think about it.
So the theory here is that your body can fight this thing better than a vaccine can. So I might as well go and get it so I can build up the antibody so I don't have to deal with it long term, I guess.
But long term, there's long COVID. Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who are dealing with long-term effects of coronavirus.
This must drive nurses crazy that are listening right now. Like, every day I am waking up and struggling every single morning. And people are doing this purposely? What?
Yeah.
1-855-BERT Show. Hey, Morgan.
Hey, so I'm actually a nurse, and my coworker, who is also a nurse, her kid wrestles, and he got COVID. So they all sat in the same room and shared a Coke.
Wait, say this one more time.
The whole team?
No, the family.
Okay.
One of the kids got COVID, and so they went and got like just a large Coke and just sat in the room and shared it. No masks.
in the hopes of
Nothing.
everybody catching it?
Yep, and it worked.
So everybody in the family got it.
Yes, at the same time.
And the theory was, let's just knock this thing out for the whole family now so we're not staggering it over weeks, if not months, if not years.
Yes, because they only got paid once for COVID leave.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Ooh.
All right.
That sounds-
It's making a little more sense now, but
No, it's not. It's not making sense. I'm sorry. The vaccine is a
doesn't.
blueprint for how to fight, to teach your body how to fight the disease. It's like the same thing, except you don't have to get super sick and there are more protections in place. Like if you don't want to get a vaccine, I'm not going to go into that. That's a different thing. But it's not that your body is more effective than fighting COVID than a vaccine. Like the vaccine teaches your body how to fight COVID. And over half of the planet has been vaccinated at least once by this point. This drives me insane, this kind of misinformation. Like you can still catch COVID while vaccinated, but you're probably not going to end up in the hospital or maybe not on a ventilator or dead or taking up valuable ICU beds for other traumas like heart attacks or car accidents. People aren't getting the treatment they need for non-COVID related stuff because unvaccinated COVID people are doing stuff like this and ending up in the hospital when the vaccine would do the exact same thing for you.
Yeah, but there's a certain amount of people, and I'm just going to stick up for the very conservative here, that are like, you know what? I really believe, this is not my thoughts, by the way. These are our words because I'm playing defense attorney. My body can fight COVID better. The antibodies in my body can fight COVID better than any vaccine.
There are no antibodies for COVID in your body already. That's what the vaccine does. Or catching COVID. Yes, you can fight COVID. Your body can fight it off, but it's such a crapshoot on whether or not you're going to have zero symptoms. It'll feel like a light cold, a flu for a week, or you're going to end up in the hospital. Like, that's the point. Like, you don't have natural antibodies to fight COVID. Like, you develop them by being exposed to the disease.
So their theory is that everybody's going to get it eventually.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get it. So I might as well just go ahead and start the antibodies now.
That's what I was trying to understand the logic, and I personally don't. But if you only have so much time off work, I'm like, okay, all right. And you really think that your antibodies are better than this strange shot that you don't know what's in it that you're going to put in your arm. Like, I don't understand the logic personally. I just hope that anybody that's doing this is also quarantining, because that's my problem, is that they go, I got my COVID from my friend. We had some popcorn, shared a bowl of popcorn. I got the COVID. Now I got the antibodies. I'm just going to go to UPS and I'm going to go to Kroger. I'm going to touch everything and do what I want because I feel fine. They don't quarantine after they get it.
Diamond, good morning. Your parents did this?
Yeah, my mom actually got it. She works at a daycare. So I kept telling her, she said, I can't smell and I'm losing taste. And I was like, you probably have COVID. And this was during Christmas when everybody was over the house. I was like, I probably should leave. And she's like, no, it's just allergies. So I leave, and then she calls me and said, oh, I have COVID. And I was like, oh, no shock. So she tells my dad, oh, you should probably leave the room. But he decides to lock himself in a room with her because, he's like, to death do us apart. He stays in the room with her the entire time while she has COVID. He gets COVID. Then he decides, oh, I should probably quarantine or, social distance. And then he decides to go in my old room, and then they just kind of have COVID in two different rooms. But his whole thought process was like, oh, I'm going to get it anyways because we're in the house together. I might as well go ahead and stay in the room with my wife. But him having diabetes is a little worse for him. I mean, it's fine now, but it was just crazy.
It's so scary because I know a lot of people that got COVID, felt down for 4 or 5 days and recovered from it. But there are also, look at the stats, millions of people that have died from it. So if you're putting yourself in that situation, you might be underestimating what the effect is going to have on you, and you have no idea. And I don't want to play like body roulette in a way like that, Lucy, good morning. You're part of the Bert Show. Last call here.
Good morning. So my mom, who lives in Kansas, was vaccinated, and she came into town for my daughter's birthday, and she was seeing myself and my older sister, who also has children. And we're not anti-vax. We just haven't gotten the vaccine yet. And since my mom was coming in town, she is vaccinated. Obviously, we wanted to see her. It just felt, the safest that she's older. She had it. Whatever. My mom ended up bringing COVID to our whole family, myself, my sister, and she even gave it to my little sister and her family before she left town.
So this isn't quite the same thing. This isn't like all you guys signing up to be in a room together to catch it purposely, right?
Correct. But afterwards, we were like, well, we got it over with. So that was kind of our story. But my mom, my poor mom, ended up getting pneumonia and got it the worst.
Yeah, you just don't know the effect it's going to have on you. I mean, you really are playing a very, very dangerous game if you decide to do something like that.
The Bert Show.